Welcome everybody to this closing session of OmniSOC's third year anniversary. I hope everybody has enjoyed these last couple days as much as I have. And boy, things seem to go by quickly, and here we are closing things up already. The highlight of this closing is going to be a Q&A with our newest OmniSOC member, Santa Clara University. But before I introduce colleagues from Santa Clara, let me give a few thank yous. So first, let me start by thanking Elastic, our commercial partner in running the OmniSOC. The content they provided and ongoing support is greatly appreciated. I want to thank my CIO and CISO colleagues from the Big Ten founding members, Rutgers University, University of Nebraska, Northwestern University, and Indiana University. I also want to thank the National Science Foundation and the National Science Foundation major facilities that are OmniSOC clients through the Research SOC, NRAO, Gauge, and Gemini. And particularly want to thank Dr. David Halstead for joining us here on stage on Wednesday. I also want to thank, for those of you who just came from the researcher panel, those 4 researchers who joined us and gave had such an interesting discussion and set of remarks. So my thank you go out to Ina Cooper, Anita Niklich, Sagar Samtani, and Jay Yang. Now with that, let me turn to introducing new colleagues from Santa Clara University. So I'd like to now welcome on stage Dr. Robert C. Owen, the Vice Provost and Chief Information Officer at Santa Clara University, and Kristen Diedeker, the Chief Information Security Officer at Santa Clara University. Bob and Kristen, welcome to the OmniSOC family. We're very excited about having you join us here as clients.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me kick off the conversation here with a question to you, Bob, and ask you to introduce us to Santa Clara University and talk a little bit about what cybersecurity for Santa Clara means to you from your perspective as CIO.
Thanks, Vaughn, and we're very happy to be here. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you virtually, such as it is. My remarks are going to be somewhat brief. I used to teach debate, and I always taught my students, make sure you know your audience and where you are in your place of things. This is an information security conference. You'd much rather talk to Kristen. You'll get a lot more out of talking to Kristen. I also know I'm standing between you and happy hour, so I know where I sit. So with that, let me just make a couple of comments. Santa Clara University is situated in the heart of Silicon Valley. We are a Jesuit Catholic institution, approximately 9,000 students. We offer undergraduate degrees in business, arts and sciences, and engineering. We also have graduate programs also in business and engineering, as well as education, counseling, psychology, pastoral ministries, and theology. We have a law school that's been a part of us for quite a while. We also offer a engineering PhD, and we'll offer a new EDD here within the next year or so. We are the oldest university in California, and we have one of the highest graduation rates in the United States. 84% of all of our students graduate within their 4-year time. And also we have a 94% retention rate, which is very attractive to a lot of institutions. We're very happy to have that. So it's a very good place to work. We're very well supported by our board of trustees, who, as you might imagine, are drawn from the Silicon Valley, which means that they are executives, senior level executives at high-tech companies, venture capitalists, entrepreneurs. So we're very, very fortunate in that regard. So to your second question, Vaughn, about cybersecurity and kind of where does it fit, or what does it mean to us at the institution? Basically, it's a foundational underpinning of what we do. It has to be. It's one of those things for any of the other CIOs on the call, and probably for all the CISOs too. The question that I would get frequently from folks, what keeps you up at night? it's cybersecurity issues. I'm not worried that some bug is going to rear its head in programming. We did something we shouldn't have done in an application. That doesn't keep me up at night. Cybersecurity keeps me up at night. And so, so with that, I'm just going to pause and stop there and turn it over to the person you really, really would like to talk to, who we're very happy to have had join us about 2 years ago. So Kristen, take it away, and let me also note that, so Kristen's very, very good, and no, you can't have her. Don't even think of recruiting her. With that, Kristen, it's all yours.
Well, thank you. And thanks, Vaughn, for inviting us on.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you both. And thank you, Bob, for those opening remarks. Kristen, let's shift the stage to you then. It sounds like you've been in your seat now for about 2 years. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'll ask you to tell us a little bit more about the cybersecurity strategy you've put into place and how you see the OmniSOC fitting in with that.
Yeah, well, I'll just mention that Santa Clara has a really small information security team. There's just 2 of us. And, you know, regardless, we still have the same broad security needs as a larger university, right? We're doing data security, network security, vendor assessments, risk assessments, education awareness, monitoring, incident response, and I can go on. So Brian and I wear a lot of different hats, and we have to be really smart about what we focus on any given day. And it was critical in my mind that we needed to bring on a partner that we could offload monitoring and threat hunting to, bring on a partner who really understood higher ed, understood our environment, and allowed us the opportunity to be more proactive instead of reactive.
That's great. Well, let me, I'll keep directing questions here to Kristen, but, you know, Bob, I know as a CIO will jump in whenever he feels it's appropriate. So I'll give that invite knowing it will be easily accepted. Kristen, maybe tell us a little bit more about some of your other cybersecurity initiatives. As much as, you know, I enjoy talking about OmniSOC, I'm sure you've got other things going on.
Yeah. Well, we've been busy over the past couple of years. You know, Bob didn't really mention this, but he inherited a great amount of technical debt that he's chipped away at significantly over the past 6 years. Certainly the past 2 years, we've had some major infrastructure projects that have significantly improved our information security profile. And looking ahead, I see a major opportunity to build on that, but focus more on our internal processes and procedures around security. You know, I see that one key area for us is going to be incident response. So we don't have a dedicated incident response team, being only a 2-person shop. So improving our capabilities in this area around preparation and training and run books is something that I'm focusing on for the upcoming year. I think we have an opportunity to leverage the expertise in the greater OmniSOC community. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. I'm sure you'll be hearing me ask a lot of questions and directing inquiries your way.
That's great. Well, you've managed to get quite a bit done in the 2 years you've been there. And especially since, well, that second year that you've been there has certainly not been a normal year by any standards.
Yeah.
And I know this is just sort of almost conversation that comes up, you know, the question comes up sort of all the time. How has the pandemic affected the last year? What has that sort of meant in terms of cybersecurity from your perspective?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, clearly, like every other university, we had to shift gears rapidly and support that move to remote work and online learning. I think Santa Clara is a really high-touch personal environment. We had, before the pandemic, a significant number of our transactions were face-to-face, and not just for students in the classroom, but really for employees. That's our culture. And, we had to rapidly move those transactions to be done online and to be done in a very secure mechanism. And that required a lot of effort throughout campus. I think as we emerge from the pandemic, we're going to go back to that face-to-face mode, but we've established now partnerships with business units across the university that have begun the work of looking at data handling procedures, looking at risk management, and we have the opportunity now to build on that. So I think that that's going to be a key focus for us going forward.
Let me just to kind of frame set here. Our university prior to the pandemic offered no online for credit courses whatsoever, zero. Everything was face to face. And so we went from a university offering no online courses for credit during the academic year. Now, kind of interestingly, we're on a quarter system. On our summer quarter, they would allow some courses for credit because the rationale was the students may not have been able to be on campus present. So we would allow that during the academic year. No. So we went in a 15-hour period. We shifted from a university that offered no online courses to only online courses. And that was March 16th of last year. And so it was quite a shock. So we had a lot more ground to cover in terms of getting ourselves prepared digitally, and including the cybersecurity aspect to be able to make the switch that we did. The other thing I'll say is that what was kind of unusual for us was leading into the pandemic. In the fall of 2019, one of our sister institutions, Regis University, suffered a major ransomware attack, unfortunately, and it took them down, pretty much stopped them in their tracks for a couple of months. And so there's an old saying, never waste a good crisis. And we moved aggressively to try to get additional resources, and that was helpful for us. And so right at the point where the pandemic started, we had positioned ourselves to make the ask and got approval for bringing on additional resources, which included 24/7, 365 monitoring, which then led us to you.
And I agree. That's always an incredibly astute strategy for anyone in cybersecurity, is have those things in your back pocket. That's quite an impressive transition you made, going from the no online classes to the current world. I'm just curious if I can follow up. How do you? And I know we're having great debates about this here at Indiana University right now. And we don't know the answers yet, but how do you see transitioning back? What will the normal sort of look like after the pandemic is become more managed?
Well, I'll give a very brief overall administrative answer. Chris, you can answer from a cybersecurity perspective. I don't think that there's going to be turning back the clock. We have employed, since I've been at the university in 2014, numerous strategies of what I call nibbling around the edges of the cookie. We couldn't take a full bite of the cookie, but we're nibbling around the edges, the cookie being resistance to the use of technology in either the work environment or online education delivery in the classroom. So we were nibbling around the edges. And then the pandemic hit. And so people had been forced. Before the pandemic, 60% of our faculty used our Canvas, our LMS, meaning 40% of our faculty had no online course materials, no online syllabus, no online presence to speak of. And so I don't think we're going to go back to that. I do think that our ethos and our culture is one that values the physical presence, high touch, face-to-face. I think that'll still be a major part of who we are, but I do think that we have a number of faculty now that they had no choice but to try some of our new digital tools to deliver instruction, and amazingly, some of them liked it. And so I think they will continue to use those things. I know we're already talking about looking at now possibly an online undergraduate degree program, TBD. We don't know what that would be, but that's what I'd say from an administrative standpoint. Kristen, you got any take from a cybersecurity standpoint?
Well, I would just add that, faculty have now dipped their, shoe into the waters of online learning. Staff too, I think, building on their familiarity with online tools, on even having that conversation around risk and data processing and data security is just going to help us move forward.
Yeah, dipping the shoe in is a nice way to put it. I think some felt pushed into the deep end. Well, let me transition a little bit, Kristen. You made the mention earlier about being in higher education and some of the wanting somebody to sort of understand that. I know you've had other roles before your 2 years at Santa Clara University. I was wondering if you could reflect a little bit on what are some of the unique cybersecurity challenges, both in higher education and then maybe at Santa Clara in particular.
Well, yeah, I have been at other higher ed institutions and ones that are dramatically different from each other. I've been at University of Washington, so huge research university, to Menlo College, which is very, very small, under 1,000 students, residential college. But I think that the challenges we face at Santa Clara, at those institutions, and across the board throughout our sector are pretty similar. Most of the threats I think we see are financially motivated, and we're no different at Santa Clara. I think what does make us unique is that while we don't have the research profile of an R1, we do have a doctoral program, a PhD program in computer engineering. We sit in Silicon Valley. We have ties to major Silicon Valley tech companies. And so I don't discount the possibility of other kinds of threats, whether that be espionage or intellectual property theft. And then going back to the similarities, like other institutions, there are resource constraints across the board. And the COVID pandemic certainly made those, resource constraints more severe through budgetary effects. So we face an uphill battle. Other institutions face an uphill battle. And I think that's what makes it all the more important to build partnerships with organizations like OmniSOC, and helps us improve our capabilities and make better use of our limited resources.
Very good. Bob, anything you wanted to add to that, or any closing thoughts from either one of you?
I guess I would say that certainly, so I've been in higher education for over 30 years and in the tech industry for all of my career. And it's interesting. I mean, security has been present, always there as an issue. It's really, in my opinion, in my view, the last 5-7 years, you just see it ramping up almost exponentially, the amount of threats, the amount of attention that it's getting. I think it's going to become core to the thought processes, or at least it should be, for any information security or information systems shop in terms of anything they do. What's the security aspect? Where does that fit in? And so all this is your areas. The threat landscape is dynamic, changes daily and exponentially, and it's always a game of catch up. Okay, this happened, now we responded. This happened, and now we responded. I wish I could say that anything other than I think that's going to continue and to accelerate. And so anything that we can do proactively to try to at least limit the range. We know we're going to be subject to attacks. We know that's going to happen. But OmniSOC presents us with at least a partial solution to the overall cybersecurity equation. It's not everything, and you guys weren't designed to be everything, but it's a solid fit for that particular niche that we have. And I guess I would echo Kristen's comment that we look forward to leveraging our partnership with you, OmniSOC, and your colleagues at the other sister institutions to find out and hear about what they're doing, because our only chance at least holding our own in this battle is to act collectively and listen to and find out what everybody else is doing. None of us hold all of the answers, and I have got everything right there. Kristen?
You said it better than I could.
Well, Bob, Kristen, let me thank you both for joining me here on this virtual stage today, and also for joining the OmniSOC family. And we really do, as you both, I echo what you said, look forward to deepening this collaboration, learning from each other, and serving you in the Santa Clara community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Thanks, Vaughn.
Let me go ahead and wrap us up at this point. I want to thank everybody in the audience who's been attending over the past few days. I'm going to add a few more thank yous on here, particularly to Todd, Cece, Keith, everyone else in our communications office who's made this possible. I also want to thank Susan Sons and the Research SOC team for helping make this possible. And then finally, I would be remiss of not thanking the most important people here, which is the OmniSOC staff themselves. So CJ Clute, Scott Orr, and the entire OmniSOC team, thank you very much for everything that made the OmniSOC possible, which of course this whole event builds upon. So with that, I would really like to thank everyone now for joining us. We hope to see you again next year, and also hope that you will reach out and contact us if you have any questions. And until we talk again, please stay safe. Thank you all very much.